I'm Sarah Hooker, and this is Let's Learn About Aperture. Does that sound cheesy? There are 3 settings that you need to adjust to get the perfect exposure. Those are ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. And when they're all set perfectly, then you get the magical unicorn of perfect exposure, as represented by this magical unicorn. We're going to start with aperture for no better reason than it's my favorite. Aperture is like your pupil. If you've ever noticed, and if you haven't noticed, then you should definitely take a look. If you're outside and it's really bright, then your pupil gets really small because it's the hole that's letting light in. So if it's really bright out, you don't need to let as much light in. But if it's really dark, if you're in a really dark room, then your pupil gets really big to let in more light so that you can see better. So aperture is the same way. If you need more light, if you have a dark scene, then you need a nice big hole in your shutter to let in more light. So aperture is measured in f-stops: f1.4, f2, f2.8, f4, f5.6, f8, f11, f16, f22. Now f22 is a really small hole. f1.4 is a really large hole. So I know that's counterintuitive, but a small number means a large hole, and a small hole gets a large number. Okay, so now you understand the numbers and how they correspond to the size of the aperture. Now what the heck do they do? The first thing that they do is they control the amount of light coming in, and that's where it works together with the ISO and the shutter speed to get your perfect exposure. So if your camera meter is telling you, whoa, you need more light, then you probably need a bigger hole. So if you're at f8 and it says you need more light, you can change your aperture maybe to 4 or f2 and have more light coming in because you've got a bigger hole. If you're overexposed and it's saying it's too bright, you've got too much light coming in, then if you're at f8, then you go to f11 or f16 and get a smaller hole so you're letting less light in. Okay, so the second job of aperture, and this is where you get to get artsy and fun, is that it controls the depth of field. Now what is a depth of field? Depth of field is how much you're getting in focus. So let's say I'm focused on my hand right here. If I have a really small depth of field, then just my hand is in focus. Nothing past it, in front of it, will be in focus. If I'm the camera and I'm looking at my hand, focus right here on my hand, and I have a really huge depth of field, then that means that my hand and lots of things behind it are going to be in focus. Got it? Alright, so if you have a small number, a large hole, then you have a very small depth of field. So if you're at 1.4, which is a big hole, small number, then you have just a little bit in focus around your focus point. If you're at f22, which is a small hole, then you have a ton in focus. Okay, so if you still don't understand that, I have an example for you. So I was doing a gnome portrait, because why not? And I started it at f2. So this first picture that I took is at f2, which is this large hole, okay, and a small depth of field. That means I'm focused on this gnome in front, and all his gnome friends are out of focus. I have a very small depth of field at f2, okay? So then my next picture, I thought, what if this is like a gnome band, and all the bandmates are upset but they're out of focus in the picture? So we change our aperture, and this one is shot at f11, which is a much smaller hole and a larger depth of field. So now I'm still focused on the gnome in front, but my depth of field is bigger, so all the gnomes behind him are also in focus and are now happy. I hope that helps you understand aperture, and I also really hope that now you go out and play with your camera and try different apertures and see how that changes the look of your picture.